Alright, hey guys, how we doing? We're back on another Akatsuki video, and it is another How Strong. How Strong is a Itachi video was quality. I love it. I loved learning all the stuff he did when he was younger, and it was just like, yo, that hype is real kind of thing, you know what I mean? So this is going to be interesting. I hope he does all this kind of stuff. I want to know how strong is Obito. Obito's like a beast, but like, what random stuff can we learn about him that, you know, further proves he's a real powerful dude. Let's Kage explain. Oh god, that was terrible. My intros can either be really good or just like blabbery nonsense. I think that was the blabbery nonsense one. Let's just do this anyway. How strong? Let me set the volume. Oh yeah, volume's not right. Here we are. How strong is Obito?
So my last video did really well, and I sort of expected that Itachi's really popular. At the very least, I thought it'd get a decent amount of attention, but certainly nowhere near as much as it actually ended up getting. I really appreciate it. You guys were super supportive, and you seemed pretty happy with the idea of me making more videos in the same format, but about different characters.
Yep.
I saw a ton of people requesting specific characters, and a surprising chunk of the cast was represented among these requests. The two most popular characters, by a pretty decent margin, were Shisui and Obito.
Cool.
Even though Shisui's really cool, he's barely in the series, which makes it pretty difficult to discern precisely how strong he is. So we're going to be focusing on Obito today. I'll get to Shisui at some point in the future, though, so don't worry. I promise, like, I really do mean it, just not today. Today we're talking about Obito. Now, just like Itachi, Obito becomes much more powerful over the course of his life. How strong he is varies tremendously depending on which point in his life you're talking about. So again, like with Itachi, we'll be analyzing Obito chronologically and jumping forward in time anytime there's an indication of a major increase in ability. Obviously, this means we'll be starting with his humble beginnings as a member of Team Minato.
Awesome. Part 1. Team Minato. The Third Shinobi World War.
It goes without saying that, at this point, Obito's kind of a dunce. That's the entire point of his character. And when we first see him during the Kakashi Hiden chapters, even though we're not given a lot of time to learn what he is and isn't capable of, you can still tell that he's not cut from the same cloth as the rest of the Uchiha clan. As we're fed more information about Obito and his life before he met Madara, this starts to feel more and more true. He doesn't really accomplish anything worth mentioning and is clearly the weakest of his 4 team members. Now, most people think that this changes at least a little bit when he first awakens his Sharingan and helps Kakashi take out 2 rock ninja, but you'd be surprised by how little you actually get to see him do. He stabs 2 people, and one of them happens to be camouflaged. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that means Obito's completely worthless even after awakening his Sharingan or anything, but it wouldn't be fair to make any judgments about what he's capable of given how little he accomplishes. Now, all that said, as soon as he meets Madara and subsequently unlocks the ability to activate the Mangekyo Sharingan, he pretty much becomes an entirely different person.
Wow, that pause made me think that the video was broken then. What's going on? Part 2. Blood Mist Battle. Just
the hidden mist ninja that Obito fights with Tobi's help are all likely much stronger than the rock ninja that nearly killed him, and he tears through dozens of them without breaking a sweat. Now, despite the fact that these guys all appear to be Anbu level because of the gear that they're wearing, they're also clearly jobber characters written into the series for the sole purpose of being killed by Obito. None of them have any on-screen accomplishments. I have no idea how strong they are, and neither do you, which makes them a really bad point of reference for determining how strong Obito is. It's still possible to make an educated guess, of course, and I think the act of wiping out an entire Anbu platoon in 11 pages with 0 difficulty is enough to put him above the weight class of most Jonin. Claiming anything else with certainty is a bit tough, though, since I'd like to reiterate that this fight only lasts for 11 pages, and I'm going to add that for most of these 11 pages, as in about 95%, Obito only uses taijutsu.
Yeah, he doesn't he? Slices them all up.
Obito appears to crack a few people's skulls
open with 4
so cool. Punches alone. He also also get to see him launch wooden spears straight through people's faces. But the point that I'm trying to make is we don't get to see him do much outside of hand-to-hand combat. And because of how versatile so many of the characters in this series have proven they can be, it's tough for me to say how Obito would fare against some of them based solely on his taijutsu skill. We're also not shown how good Obito is at using Kamui here. We don't know if he can suck people into the Kamui dimension, or if he even knows there is a pocket dimension attached to his Mangekyo Sharingan. Considering how much better Kakashi got at using Kamui over the course
interesting.
of the series,
When do you
though,
think
I
they
think it's safe to
figure
assume
out they
that
have
Obito
that?
probably had a lot
Like
of
he has
room for
it.
improvement at this point. I mean, who knows? Maybe he could suck people into the dimension.
They just like accidentally,
I
like,
think it's
and they go, oh wait, where did
likely,
that go?
But I can't say for sure. To be honest, I don't really feel like speculating, so let me just stick to what I do know. We know that Obito can phase through people's attacks, and that he can perform wood style. Toby seems pretty impressed by how skilled Obito is with wood release as well. I mean, he only says like one thing about it, so it's not like this implies that Obito is one of the best wood release users ever or anything, but he gets this praise immediately after gaining the ability to use wood style in the first place, and it also comes from another wood release user. Toby also makes this comment before Obito does this, so I don't think it's being too generous to say that Obito's probably a pretty decent wood style user.
Yeah,
Even
my
if
god.
phasing through attacks and performing wood jutsu was all Obito could do,
All that
which
blood.
no, it's not, he's at least also able to use the fireball jutsu, and probably has a handful of other skills that we don't get to see. He'd still sound pretty intimidating. Like I said, at this point I think he's already way stronger than most Jonin, and while it's up for debate whether or not he's Kage level, I think he's definitely at least on the way there.
Yeah. These breaks in volume are making me think that the video has broken in parts. It really makes me worry. Here we are, part 3. Battle with Minato.
Moving on to Yellow Mask.
Yeah, I mean, like,
the
this
one
is
that attacked Konoha with
like
the
shows he's
Nine
pretty
Tails under his
tough, like
control.
being
I
able to go
actually
against the
have a lot less to
Hokage.
say about him than I expected. Now, there's still a decent bit to dig into here, but the fight's really short, only about a chapter long. And Obito loses kind of badly. Now, it's not like Obito's near death at the end of the fight or anything. Minato hits him with a good old Rasengan smack down,
Such a
but
cool
doesn't land any
clip,
other
that's
major hits
amazing.
on him. And even though Obito does retreat at the end of the fight, it's not because he doesn't think he can beat Minato or because he's losing really badly. Though personally, I don't think he would have won had he continued to fight Minato. But anyway, the reason he actually leaves is because the Kyuubi gets separated from him. The whole reason he went to Konoha was to capture the Nine Tails, so losing it sort of defeated the purpose of being there. He left because he didn't feel like he had any reason to stay, not because he was worried he was going to die. Now, even though he loses to Minato, I mean, like, it is Minato we're talking about.
Yeah, he's a tough
That's
dude.
not a huge deal. Obito still shows that he's plenty powerful anyway. He manages to successfully separate Kushina and Minato for long enough to extract the Nine Tails, then puts the Nine Tails under his control. He almost, on 2 separate occasions, sucks Minato into the Kamui dimension and only fails because he's fighting the actual fastest ninja of all time. Another thing I want to mention is this Obito fights with a pretty clever strategy, using chains in combination with Kamui.
Cool.
He has chains bound to both of his arms, and the purpose of the chains is to catch people after he passes through them using Kamui. While they're caught off guard by being tangled up inside of the chains, I imagine Obito can do whatever he wants with them, including sucking them up with Kamui to secure instant victory. Again, the only reason this didn't work on Minato is because Minato can teleport, but there are so many other people that this should work on, and I'm honestly surprised that Obito stopped using the chains because of how effective I think they'd be. It's also possible to argue that this is one of the strongest versions of Obito since he's in control of the Nine Tails, and as we saw during Naruto and B's fight against Obito and 6 Jinchuriki, the Nine Tails is way stronger than any of the other Biju. A single Bijudama from half of Kurama was able to cancel out a big conglomerate mega Bijudama fired by 5 other Biju at once. So, in theory, with the entire Nine Tails under his control, past Obito should be able to take out the 6 or 7 Biju, counting Shukaku, that future Obito had under his control during the war arc. Now, that doesn't automatically make Yellow Mask Obito stronger than White Mask War Arc Obito, because you have to take a bunch of factors into consideration that I'll get into when we discuss War Arc Obito. Anyway, at this point, Obito's way stronger than he was at any point in the past. He's tremendously more powerful than he was when he was a member of Team Minato, of course, and he also appears to be significantly more powerful than he was when he first unlocked unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan since he seems skilled in quite a few more areas. I imagine he's gotten faster since he was able to briefly keep pace with Minato, and he also seems to be more skilled with Kamui since he attempts to suck Minato into the dimension at least once. He's also able to summon the Nine Tails, which is a pretty big deal as I said, and though he's susceptible to losing control of it due to a contract seal, it'd be pretty difficult for anybody that isn't Minato to actually place a contract seal on Obito since he can phase through matter at will. Another thing I think I should bring attention to is Minato was fighting Obito on easy mode here because he didn't have to worry about the Nine Tails until after Obito had already left. Kurama was busy attacking Konoha because Obito told him to for some reason, and if he had been fighting alongside Obito, Minato would have had a lot more trouble. Like, he already had to commit suicide just to deal with the Nine Tails by itself, so I feel like Obito's Kamui shenanigans stacked on top of that may have been a bit too much for Minato to handle. Now, to be fair to Minato, the only reason he killed himself using the Reaper Death Seal is because he wanted to make sure the Nine Tails was sealed inside of Naruto so that the Leaf still had it as an asset. Kushina was ready to outright kill Kurama, but Minato decided against it. He really wanted to make sure that the village still had the Nine Tails at its disposal in case of war against other villages. So taking that into consideration, if we strip him of his inhibitions about killing the Nine Tails, then it's possible that he would have been able to deal with Obito and Kurama at the same time, especially if we put Sage Mode on the table. But regardless of the outcome, I think the fact that Obito is this much of a threat to somebody like Minato is ridiculous. Again, as we saw, Minato was able to deal with Obito pretty quickly without having to worry about the Nine Tails, but if we're counting the Nine Tails, then Obito is way stronger than a big majority of the cast at this point. Even without Kurama to worry about, most people don't have a solid counter to Kamui, and while they're trying to figure one out, they may end up getting tangled up in Obito's chains and sucked away into the dimension anyway. He should also still be able to use Wood Style, which I guess he only stopped using in order to sell the whole Madara Uchiha shtick, and if he's still as skilled with it as he was when he wiped out the Mist Platoon, then that makes him even more dangerous. Calling this version of Obito S-Class or Kage level is a massive understatement. He's one of the most powerful ninja of all time and is well equipped to take out every member of the Akatsuki. Even Pain wouldn't be able to do anything about the Nine Tails. Chibaku Tensei couldn't stop Naruto, and Naruto was only using an 8-tailed cloak fueled by half of the Nine Tails chakra.
See, again, that pause in sound just made me go, oh god, what happened to the video? Part 5. There's part 5 in it? Part 5? Part 4. So good.
Let's move on to Orange Mask Obito. And now this is a little bit tricky because it's at this point in the series that we see him do the least amount of fighting. He's mostly preoccupied with taking care of the setup for the Eye of the Moon plan, and in the process he does a whole lot of lying. He initially fools everyone with the goofball Toby persona, and then starts trying to convince people that he's Madara Uchiha. None of this misdirection makes it any easier to figure out how strong Obito was at this point, but luckily, thanks to the fact that we know at least a little bit about his life before he put on the Orange Mask, we can use stuff like his fight with Minato and his fight against the Blood Mist as a baseline for his strength. Like I said in the Yellow Mask Obito section, I think he's the strongest member of the Akatsuki, and there's a lot of evidence to support that spread throughout the first half of Shippuden. Since this is a pretty hotly debated topic, that's where I'm going to start, because I know there are a ton of people who don't think he's stronger than either Pain or Itachi, and I'd like to establish right from the beginning here that he definitely 100% is. So even though he can't freely summon the Nine Tails anymore, and doesn't get a free win against most of his potential opponents, Obito's had 16 years to get stronger, and there's no way he's weaker than he was when he fought Minato. He should be substantially more powerful. Even if that's not enough to convince you, despite the fact that every member of the Akatsuki gets their orders from Pain, Pain receives his orders directly from Obito. Now you could be thinking that doesn't mean Obito is stronger than him. Nagato could just trust in his wisdom and his judgment since he claims to be Madara Uchiha after all. And while that's a fair point, if Obito was nothing more than the brains behind the Akatsuki, he'd be relegated to the role of advisor, not full-blown leader. Since Nagato and Konan were two of the organization's founders, and they have radically different plans for how to use the Biju once they're collected, there's no reason they'd allow Obito to bark orders at them if they were more powerful than him. Anyway, now let's move on to Itachi. Every time I come across people discussing this topic, I see these two manga panels brought up. I don't think people know what they're actually intended to mean, so let me quickly clear up some misconceptions about them. In the first one, Obito's telling Zetsu the Akatsuki is free to attack the Leaf because Itachi's dead and he doesn't have to worry about him him anymore. I see a lot of people acting like this means Obito didn't attack Konoha
because
strictly
Itachi
out
stopped
of
him.
fear
No,
that Itachi would kill him if he tried.
no, I
to.
didn't
And
see it
that's
like
a
that
little
way.
bit ridiculous.
It's like I
because
couldn't
right
attack
before
them
he
while
sends
Itachi was
Pain to
alive
capture
because
Naruto. The reason Obito says this is because he doesn't want to create any unnecessary problems when he knows he doesn't have to. He clearly knew about Itachi's terminal illness since he brought it up.
So he's like, I'll just wait until he dies.
So why would he start problems with Itachi when he could just sit on it,
wait.
to attack Konoha
Yeah,
until after
why bother?
Itachi is dead, and
you mean I
then
don't have to
capture the
fight him?
Nine-Tails, since the Kyuubi has to be sealed inside of the Ghetto Mazo after the first 8 Biju have already been captured. Part of the agreement he made when he recruited Itachi to join the Akatsuki is he'd stay away from Konoha as long as Itachi gathered Biju and money for the Akatsuki, and all he's saying here is he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. If he was really worried that Itachi was going to kill him if he attacked Konoha, then all he'd have to do is bring Pain and Kisame with him, and there's no
just
way
fight
Itachi would
Itachi.
win that. In the second panel, he's obviously not talking about an actual proper fight. If he was worried that Itachi was going to kill him out in the open, and that he'd actually already be dead if he hadn't kept some information about himself hidden from Itachi, then why wouldn't he just do what I was talking about earlier, tell Pain that there's a traitor among them, and send as many members of the Akatsuki as he has to kill Itachi before that can happen. All he's talking about here is how Itachi tried to kill him by planting Amaterasu in Sasuke's Sharingan, and if he had known to take precautions for Izanagi, then Obito probably would have been killed. It's also possible that Obito let himself get hit by the Amaterasu just so he could Izanagi out of it to shock Sasuke, because even though he was probably caught off guard and was likely shocked by what was happening, he's reacted to things moving more quickly towards him than the Amaterasu before. For example, during the 5 Kage Summit, the Raikage, who was able to dodge an Amaterasu shot at him by Sasuke, charged at Obito at full speed, and Obito was able to activate Kamui in time to avoid getting hit. Even dismissing all of that, when Obito first approaches Kabuto during the build-up to the 4th War, there's a clear amount of tension in the air, and Obito appears to be threatening to kill him, so Kabuto responds by summoning 5 dead Akatsuki members with Edo Tensei, and initially, Obito isn't fazed in the least by this. All Kabuto's asking is to join forces, and Obito straight up says, "And what if I refuse?" It's only after Kabuto summons Madara with the jutsu that Obito finally backs down and agrees to let Kabuto work with him. This implies, but doesn't explicitly state, that Obito was confident he could deal with Kabuto and 5 members of the Akatsuki at the same time.
But then as soon as Madara is there, it's like
to be fair, this could be a stretch. Obito could have just meant he planned on retreating. Kamui allows him to teleport after all. But the combination of Kamui, Wood Release, and Izanagi may have been enough to shut Kabuto down. It's not like Obito has any trouble fighting against large groups of people anyway.
No.
Just before Itachi's fight with Sasuke, Obito encounters a team made up of Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Yamato, Kiba, Shino, and Hinata, and none of them can hit him throughout the entire fight. They're all just sitting there stumped, trying to figure out what to do against this guy, and obviously 5 Akatsuki members and Sage Kabuto is a much stronger team than the one I just mentioned, but Obito wasn't even close to taking that fight seriously. He was goofing off and still pretending to be Toby after all, so if he chooses to actually fight for real against Kabuto, he may be able to walk away with a victory, though I'm fully willing to acknowledge the possibility that Kabuto and his Edo Tensei summons may be able to rip Obito apart. Anyway, some other impressive accomplishments of his include surviving Konan's sea of 600 billion paper bombs, defeating Danzo's subordinates in like 20 seconds, and my personal favorite, using Kamui to teleport inside Onoki's particle-style jutsu, grabbing Sasuke, and teleporting out before he's disintegrated.
Amazing.
Overall, a fairly strong fella, to say the least. Like I said, he should have gotten stronger since his fight with Minato, and he was already ridiculously powerful then, so it stands to reason that he'd be crazy powerful after 16 years of potential training. Now, before I go any further, I do want to bring attention to some things that I haven't mentioned yet, and they sort of apply to every form of Obito, but they only really start affecting how he fights once he puts on the orange mask. The first thing is half his body is basically made up entirely of Hashirama, and that's a pretty big deal because it gives him crazy regenerative powers, and of course, as we've discussed, it allows him to use Wood Release. The regen is a lot more noteworthy though, since it means he can take a lot of damage and still come away from it without having too much to worry about. It also allows him to use Kamui endlessly with pretty much no consequences. He may as well have an internal Mangekyo Sharingan, since there's no reason for him to ever stop using it unless he wants to damage somebody. The other thing I want to mention is that Obito is pretty skilled at using Genjutsu like all Uchiha are, thanks to his possession of a Sharingan. We don't see him use using it that often, but at the end of his fight
Yeah.
with Conan, he places her under a genjutsu so powerful that it forces her to reveal where Nagato's Rinnegan are being hidden. His ability to use Izanagi is just overkill. With it, Kamui, and everything else I've mentioned at his disposal, Obito is basically
Beast.
impossible to kill, and at the same time, it's very easy for him to wipe out anyone he sees as a threat.
Again, the heart just went, whoa. This is proper messing me up. This is part 5 now, isn't it? I can't believe I did that. Oh, the Rinnegan. Part 5. Obito's Prime. The Fourth World War.
Now then, let's move on to White Mask War Arc Obito, and this is where things start to get really, really nutty. First, before we get into any specifics, let me list off a bunch of things, totally unrelated, that have killed people in the Naruto universe before. Being stabbed through the heart, having a biju extracted from oneself,
Yes.
using the ghetto art of Rene Rebirth to revive people from the dead. Oh, would you look at that? Obito survives all 3 of these things happening to him in sequence. Now, aside from the fact that he's a complete survival champion, there's a lot more to go over about this Obito.
That's amazing.
Let's start with his
look.
possession of the Rinnegan, which is a really big deal. Shortly before the war began, Obito took one of Nagato's and put it in his left eye socket, and with this Rinnegan, he can use his own version of the 6 Paths of Pain. Obito's
Amazing.
capable of controlling the bodies of 6 Jinchuriki who can all transform into their respective Biju form.
Such a
This
clever
means
idea.
that Obito can control 6 Biju at the same time, which is just as ridiculous as it sounds. It's also stated that he can use all of the Rinnegan's abilities, but he tries to avoid it because of how much chakra it would consume. As a matter of fact, early on in the arc, he specifically mentions using the human path to steal Yamato's soul and read his mind in the process. The Rinnegan also lets him summon the Ghetto Mazo and conjure chakra chains, which he can use to restrain the Biju.
God.
Some other ninjutsu that he shows off include a barrier ninjutsu capable of keeping the Ghetto Mazo safe from the 8 tails, and a gigantic fire jutsu that matches Madara's in terms of
My
size.
God.
He also stores gigantic shuriken and metal stakes inside of the Kamui dimension that he can shoot out whenever he chooses to. At one
Bloody
point,
hell.
he even does this with enough force to cut off some of Gyuki's tentacles, so these shuriken are no joke. He's fast enough and has enough stamina to fight Kyuubi Cloak Naruto, Bee, Kakashi, and Guy all at the same time, even after storing all 6 of his Biju back inside of the Ghetto Mazo, and the only reason any of them are able to hit him is because of Kakashi's presence there. If not for his ability to counter Obito's Kamui by using his own Kamui, they wouldn't be able
Nope.
to damage Obito whatsoever. Even Kabuto, one of the 3 final boss characters of the war arc, who easily fought Itachi and Sasuke at the same time and can access his super powerful Sage mode at whim, was scared by the idea of fighting Obito. I could keep going, but I won't because I don't want to be obnoxious. I think it should be super apparent that this guy is really, really strong
Yep.
by now. After
Tough
he acquires
dude.
the Rinnegan, Obito starts approaching absurd levels of overpowered. As a matter of fact, I've said in previous videos that I think he'd be able to beat the 5 Kage almost as easily as Madara did. As one of the series' final villains, he's one of the strongest ninja of all time, and I could probably count on 1 or 2 hands the people who could actually beat this Obito without some kind of 6 Paths chakra or power-up. Speaking of 6 Paths power-ups, this is the part of the video where I'd start talking about Jubito, if not for a few things. First of all, the video's already over 21 minutes long, and I'm already way behind on uploading it, and there's enough to say about Jubito to warrant making an entirely separate video. If you
Right.
guys want to see me make a video, so if you guys want a video about Jubito, let me know in the comments or tweet it at me or whatever you want to do. I'll gauge everybody's response and I'll decide whether or not I want to make the video from there. Especially in this case, this video is super long and it also took a really long time to make, so I really appreciate it. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So as usual, have a great rest of the day, and until my next video, I'll talk to you later. Swag Kage out. Bye.
Decent. So, Obito is pretty strong. It's the nowhere. There we are. Oh, my only complaint about this video is the weird pauses in between stuff. Like, not necessary. Don't need it. Like, just go to the next bit of info. But, yes. So, to wrap up the video, Obito is pretty strong. Thanks for watching. Oh, God. Dun-dun-dun-dun. done some amazing stuff. I like that. I like that video a lot. I hope he does do other characters. How strong are blah blah blah. I mean, he's done one for Zabuza and the Sound 4, and yeah, I like them. I want more versus battles as well. The versus is cool. There's still some versus for us to get through, actually. I was going to do, but then this popped up. I was going to do Toby Brown versus Kasami. Might do that next. But then the next on the list was Madara versus Jupito, so I don't know. I might do Madara versus Jupito next. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. It's all you guys next time.